Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Fans in Motion podcast, the only podcast that you didn't know you needed. It's our little corner of the internet, our little hot Night Ranger corner of the internet. I say to my two friends, so you say you've written letters and you've mailed them to yourself. And through the politics of compromise, you've left them lying upon the shelf. Say hello, Josh.
That is probably the worst song on Big Life.
I'm done talking to you, Brent.
He's dead. He's dead to me. And
I
how did you
just
know
say
they were on my shelf?
In conjunction with what's been going on, there was a post on the Facebook page today, and I was like, "That's the song I'm going for today."
I just thought that's the easiest way to piss off the most people in a short amount of time. So
Yeah. Well, the minutes on this one are already over with.
that's was that Rain Comes Crashing Down, right?
It comes crashing down. One of my favorites. I wish they still played live.
There's a story. There's a story, and I can't remember who the musician was, but it was someone else on another band. And I remember them telling the story about Jack playing that for them in the studio.
Yeah.
And how proud they were, and definitely a different Night Ranger song. A lot of production and
Absolutely. Yeah, I
so,
agree with you on that. But that song always hit me. Like the minute I heard it, I'm like, oh, I like this song. Kind of haunting, a little creepy, a little bit of a,
And Fitz really sets the mood too.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, I think you could. It's missing a little bit of a French horn, probably around the 2:30 mark. But
No, they let that for Carry On.
So
Or no, Better Let It Go. Part of it.
Yeah. It's all good, man.
yeah.
We need more French horn and less trousers. Is that your next thing, Josh?
Well, yeah.
Oh, wait. Less French horn, more trousers.
Less trousers, more cocaine.
So,
Right, Brett?
Close. I can just hear them tuning out.
No. So today, this episode we're going to do now is I'll introduce what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about our own personal Night Ranger concert stories that we have, right? That's where you want to go with this one, Josh?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what we kind of talked about in this just
in our big pre-production meeting.
In our big pre-production meeting, just all the shows that we've seen. I mean, I know some of the ones you guys went to, and you obviously know some of mine, but there's also probably, even in the more recent years, stuff I don't even know that you guys have seen, and probably vice versa. So it's just something we haven't really discussed, and I think a lot of people will, especially living in the Midwest, we talk about on the page. We've all been to a lot of the same shows, so
I'd love to know how many shows that me and Josh have been at, and then the three of us have been, because
well, we know of one.
Well, I know of a few. I know the 85 Seven Wishes and the 97 Neverland.
Yeah.
And probably me and Andy at least one of the Cleveland shows. So there's a
and the Picktown Palooza.
You were at that, huh?
I was there. I was but I was in the back.
Let's save all that.
Yeah, I was too. So
we're right next to each other. It's probably like, who's this jagoff next to me?
Yeah, we're doing good so far. So we're just basically going to just share our experiences of Night Ranger concerts, and then hopefully you guys will on the page share yours as well.
Yeah, so you're probably going to hear some of the same stories again for those of you that's listened or watched every one of these things, but they're worth repeating.
Yes.
So
moving forward with our previous episode was the Tristan Ivaki interview. Have we gotten anything, Josh, you want to talk about? Any great? I saw Tristan, I think, messaged you. Is that correct? Or
oh yeah, I mean Tristan. I mean we messaged back and forth a lot there for a while, just exchanging ideas and everything, and then he sent me a message, and I think you're referring to the one that I sent you guys, where he said in a fit of insomnia he had watched the thing from beginning to end and enjoyed it. And so that was good. Yeah, a lot of positive feedback. Again, it's a great story. Just the music business, the Night Ranger part, the Queen part, Brian May, just all of it. It's just great to hear that, and it's done really well. It's actually one of our top episodes out of everything we've done. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, Night Ranger fans are probably listening to it, guitarists and Queen fans, and just picked up on it. So everyone who's listened, thank you. Go check out Tristan's CD, As Waters. I think it's just aswaters.com, and you can't go wrong there.
Also, Brent, kudos to you on making his name into a logo. That probably was a lot of work.
Yeah, it really was. And
I mean, look at.
And I noticed when I turned it to the blue, I did this on purpose tonight because right around the TRI, it doesn't look completely level, and I didn't notice it when I finalized it. But I always notice things that are wrong with it after they're done.
Yeah,
but it looks good.
Yeah, it looks good.
We'll dock your paycheck.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're getting less than zero. So, is there any?
And I'm still getting taxed on that.
Is there anything going on in the Night Ranger world that we need to know about news-wise? Anything?
Well, I guess news-wise, Brent, do you got anything right off the top?
No, just same concerts that we talked about being announced last week. Florida and Arizona. And that's it. Other than, the Joel Hoekstra CD.
You still got...
But you're going to talk about that.
You still got the show in, I think, South Dakota, and you got in May, and you got Wabash, Indiana in June or July. So they're not updating the website, and also the store, and I haven't checked it in a few days, but the store is running low on stuff. The Night Ranger store, some shirts aren't available, some of the masks and stuff. So hopefully there'll be a restocking soon, and they'll throw some new stuff in. But we did get some new music this week. The Joel Hoekstra.
Yeah.
Joel Hoekstra's 13 Running Games disc was released. It's really good. You guys all know how big of a fan I was of the first album. This album is in the same vein, just a good hard rock album. Obviously, you got Joel on there writing all the stuff, but Russell Allen handles the majority of the lead vocals. Vinny Appice on drums, Tony Franklin on bass, Derek Sherinian on keys, and Jeff Scott Soto does the backup vocals. So you got an all-star lineup there. Go support Joel. The music's good. And just, again, like I said with Tristan, you can't go wrong. So, you got some new music being released in 2021. Hopefully it's a good sign and it continues.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, we got to get out there and support these guys, and especially during this pandemic. They can't tour, they can't make any money that way. You don't want them to stop making music. I know I don't. So let's everybody do what you can to support them.
And I think the concert industry is going to take another blow this year.
Yep.
Because I've seen a couple of things already being postponed that were rescheduled for this year, already being rescheduled for 2022.
Yep.
And it really is sad.
Lit
had to cancel their tour to Europe, which I couldn't have gone to that anyway. But it's just sad. People want to see music, and it's just tough.
Well, I say, Brent, even with our mutual friend Fred Michael.
Yeah.
He works in the touring industry, and I think he's hinted that he has nothing scheduled this year that he knows of, and it doesn't look like he'll do anything until at least 22. So, let's hope that changes.
And that's why this episode, I think, of us talking about our concert experiences, it's going to be fun. Because if we can't go to them, a year ago today, I was Josh and I were both in Lexington or Louisville, Lexington, seeing Kiss.
Lexington, yep.
That was the last show.
I was front row. I snuck down to the front row. Hey, who does that in 2020, whatever fucking year it is?
I wasn't there, but I was there.
To show your breasts at all, Josh?
Well, you know what?
It did, regardless.
They were on the screen,
Yeah.
and if it would have been the Psycho Circus in 3D, it'd been just a hell of a mess.
Hey, if you got your front row, man.
I was like, but yeah, I'm not going to say how I did it, but I did it. Front row Kiss.
People, that guy down there has some breasts. I don't want to see those breasts.
It's like, here you are, Paul. Come sign them, big boy.
No way. I got to sing Lick It Up. Whoops, I don't want to sing that now.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So, moving forward.
Everybody say no. That's what
Is
we're going to
there
sing
any...
this.
Stop. Please stop doing that. I'm going to... Josh, can you mute Brent?
All right.
Yeah, I'm done.
Is there any...
It's out.
Anybody got anything new Night Ranger-wise, merch-wise? Anything? Did anybody order anything?
Well,
I don't have anything to show.
Kind of picked this one just because of doing the concerts and stuff. I got this maybe a couple months ago. I just put them in a stack and pick one out for an episode. So we got a Damn Yankees
tour itinerary.
Winter Tour 91 itinerary. So I may take some pictures, but it's got the, it's basically is handed out to crew so they know where they're going to be. Crew and the band actually probably got one as well, but back before cell phones and all that. But the front gives you an exact where you're going to be for a couple months. 1991, February 2nd, the Gardens in Cincinnati, Ohio.
I was there.
Yeah.
That was with Bad Company, I believe.
Isn't that when Ted fired the...
the Flaming Arrow?
Flaming Arrow when he was told not to.
And got arrested.
And got promptly arrested.
It'll give you a personnel list of the band and everybody that's on the tour with them. It gives you all, like the accountant, the busing, information booking agency. It actually has a map with all the area codes so you know where you're at and what your area code you're in.
Wow.
This is how it was done back in the day. And then you just go to let's say, what was the February 2nd? So Cincinnati. So there'll be a page for each date. And at the top, it'll tell you, the date and city you're in, what time zone you're in, the venue, the travel. It tells you the band will drive to Cincinnati 100 miles and the crew drive as well. Sometimes it's different. The band will fly. It'll tell you what hotel they were at. The hotel this time was the Cincinnatian on 601 Vine.
Which is being renovated right now.
It gives you probably like a hotel manager there. Tells you how much room service they have, 24 hours, and the distance to the venue, 15 minutes. They tell you the venue, Cincinnati Gardens, capacity 9,000. They have.
That's all that held?
I was actually surprised it held 9.
Or is it 9 because of the stage? The way it's set
well,
up?
it's going to be held. It's going to be 9 because of the stage. I would assume that's concert seating, but I was at the Gardens once, and I thought maybe it'd be just a little bit less, but whatever. Doors open at 7. Showtime is at 8. It gives you the promoter rep, and then it tells you after the show, the crew drive to Indianapolis. And, so then you just go through, and it's got every date. Tells you if you're off and all that good stuff. So I have a few of these. They still use this, I know, for Night Ranger up till somewhere in California, because I have one for that tour. And they still may use, Night Ranger probably doesn't use them because they mainly do the fly-in dates. That one for Night Ranger, I think, is when they were doing the Journey and Foreigner bus tour. So, but there you go. Just something interesting in the collection. And I'll buy them if I can get them for a good price. This sat on eBay for probably a year. And then the guy knocked it down to maybe $15 or something. I mean, I'm not going to spend all that much for them. They're cool to have. But yeah, so there you go.
That's very cool. I'd like to get one of those someday, I think. Brent, you got anything, or is that it?
That's it.
All right, let's roll on to Fans in Motion. Do you got anything regarding the page, Brent?
Yeah, I have 5 shout outs to make. AJ Hernandez. AJ shared a video with us this week playing Sister Christian on acoustic guitar.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And I wanted to give a shout out. I don't know if we've given a shout out to these 2 people, but Anne-Marie Pigden, she does the Happy Days of the Week.
Yeah.
You know, every day.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, you know, without fail. And there's Patrick Fitzgerald, who does Song of the Day all
Love
the
it.
time. Those 2 constantly. And it's funny because, you know, I always talk about, hey, you know, if you're active on the page, you know, you're more likely going to get a logo. But man, they got a lot of letters in their names. It's just, I've looked at them and looked at them and looked at them. And like I said, that Tristan Ivaki took me almost 4 hours to do.
Wow.
Because I had to draw everything from hand almost on his. And oh my God. You know, so maybe someday, some way. Huh. And then we got, and I don't want to botch your name up, Jeff Taramina. Taramina.
Sure.
He posted the Marvel comic book King in Black.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, with the infamous Night Ranger font.
That's pretty cool.
And what I thought was interesting, I had seen that comic on the shelf, and I thought, that looks kind of familiar. You know, I mean, I put 2 and 2 together then, but I did notice how they went opposite ways, where, you know, the bottom, the word black goes up like the word night would, but you know, it's at the bottom of the logo for King in Black. You know, it's just reversed.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty cool, and wanted to give a shout out to a new member, Rose Stewart. Rose Stewart is new to the page, and she posted how she's loving it last night. So
love the new members. I like the one, and I wish I'd have said something to you earlier, Brent, is the new member we got from France.
Yeah,
our international reach. I was like, oh my God, somebody from France.
Hey, I even went ahead and did a Fans in Motion logo for him.
Yeah,
you know,
I saw that. That's so cool. That's
just
awesome.
put the flag inside of it.
We had France this week and Australia last week, and yeah, Rose basically said that she liked the page, that everybody was respectful and courteous, and there's, you know, and we do our job trying to eliminate any politics and any shitty comments that people leave, and we're usually pretty quick on it. So a lot of people don't even know that stuff's there, because we'll just delete it and just block the individual. But yeah, I got a couple as well. They're going back to that Night Ranger Midnight Madness final. We talked about the labels, the MCA labels. And across the bottom, all of them, now I'm talking about the one with the rainbow label. So even like the new Midnight Madness that was released, it's the same. It says MCA 1980 across the bottom. And there was a guy just on YouTube that made a pretty lengthy comment, Dawn Patrol 700, and he wrote a big explanation on why those labels have that copyright. I'm not going to go into it because it's a pretty lengthy comment, but if you're curious on that, go to the Midnight Madness final episode and just go to the comments, and you'll see his comment there. Dwayne Vickers has been posting a lot of old magazine articles, which are fun to read, and I think Todd Yorker posted a couple as well, and Marty Papworth just posted, I think Friday night, out in Utah, one of his local rock stations played Sentimental Street at about 10 p.m. So somewhere out there in America, we had some Night Ranger blasting late at night. So yeah, some cool stuff on the page.
Yeah, I was watching TV tonight, one of the news programs, and they were playing Sister Christian as the outro to the show tonight. Yeah. I thought that's pretty cool.
There you go.
That is pretty cool.
You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dwayne Vickers has been killing it. He posted a circus magazine the other day, and I had every one of those pictures on my wall from that magazine.
Yeah.
I have one I will dig up that I for some reason, I put a couple in a photo album from, I'm pretty sure it was Circus Magazine, and I'll when I find that those pages, I'll pull them out and post them. I mean, I don't know why I randomly put those
Circus was king when we were kids.
It was. Circus
I even had a subscription to that.
Hit Parader.
Yeah, but Hit Parader made up a lot of stories. They weren't all true interviews.
I just wanted pictures.
Yeah, well.
All right, is that it, though? We done?
Oh, I guess I am.
Let's move on to the stories, and let's get this show on the road. Boom, boom, boom.
Yes, sir.
He just kicked my ass, didn't he?
Just moving on.
Fuck you, Brent. Fuck you and those circus magazines.
Moving on.
Hit Parader. Had to bring up Hit Parader.
Song hits. 16.
Grooves. Anyway, man, this is going to be fun, guys. I'm looking forward to hearing. I mean, I know most of Andy's war stories. You know,
I've got a big story if we want to go there.
Tell them all, my friend. Tell them all. So I guess
with a big imagination.
Let's kick off with you guys. We kind of know this story. This is probably one of the probably more told stories, just because we focus a lot on the original classic era. But your guys' first Night Ranger concert.
Tell it, Brent.
Sunday night, January 9th, 1983. Dayton UD Arena. The Mighty Mighty Kiss with openers Night Ranger. Now, that album just came out in, what, was it November, Josh?
Either, late November of 82, maybe, somewhere around there.
Yeah, well, because I bought that album probably the week it came out. And
let me jump in there real quick. But did you buy that album because we were going to see him with Kiss, or did you buy it because you saw the video for Don't Tell Me You Love Me, or what made you buy the album?
It was both. I was going to get it anyway, but when they announced Night Ranger on the commercial that I heard, I'm like, well, I'm going to know every song that they're going to do.
Okay.
You know, so when I did, and I remember putting the turntable on, and I just got me a fancy new little stereo setup, and you could always, when you record vinyl, it always sucked because you could hear the needle, if you didn't time it right, dropping on the record, and then all of a sudden it would start. But that's how, I dubbed Andy a cassette. I was like, you better learn every one of these damn songs.
I did.
So we asked his dad, because we were in 8th grade, to take us to the concert, because I knew my parents weren't going to do it. My parents were on the verge of divorce back then.
That's right. Yeah,
they were. My dad, left 2 months later. But, but he wasn't going to go sit through no Kiss concert. But Andy's dad, God love him.
Yep.
He took us. He sat through it. He was cheering. And, and seeing Night Ranger, and, you see them in those clothes back then, in those pictures. That's what they were wearing, with the bandanas around the ankles. And I think Jack had those white pants on, if I remember right.
I don't remember.
And I told the story where Andy and I were perplexed, even though in Don't Tell Me You Love Me, Kelly's drum set was on the side in the video. We just figured that was because of the railroad tracks, I'm sure.
Yep.
But it was on the side at the Kiss concert, but they had this massive turret. Their stage was a big, gigantic tank. And I remember looking at Andy going, I guess they couldn't put the drum set where the turret is because there was no room. So we just figured Kelly was up at the front right side of the stage because of the Kiss stage. And it was one of the coolest things I'd ever seen in my life. I've never seen a band do that.
And if you listen to the David Lauser interview, you can get the roots of that, because even I had said, well, I'd heard it was from Sammy Hagar 1980 tour. There was too much shit on the stage and they had to push it off to the side. And David Lauser told us, no, they were doing that before that. And they probably got the idea. Fitz probably had the idea from back in a band in the 70s. So go back and listen to David Lauser 1 or 2 and get that story.
Yeah.
Because there's really no other band I can think of that did that. So it had to be pretty unique to see back in 1983.
Well, there is another band that does it. That did it after the fact, Stryper.
Yeah,
but not
he was in the middle.
but not the same way. Yeah, he was in the middle, but yeah. Sorry.
The greatest thing about Robert Sweet's set was those cymbals hanging from chains from the lighting truss. And he'd hit those things and they'd just swing and they'd come back in time and he'd be perfect hitting those things.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was our Night Ranger experience. We both didn't get a shirt because we were both broke kids and we had to get a KISS shirt. But they had Night Ranger shirts there. They had jerseys. I'll never forget seeing them. And I wanted one so bad, but I didn't have an extra $12, you know.
No, my dad was there and I didn't have an extra $12.
Yeah, you didn't, you know.
He wasn't coming off of that money.
I even back then, $12 was like, you know, a lot of money.
I'm sure his philosophy was, I drove you damn kids up here. I'm not giving any money.
You know, I had one of those old game shows on the other day. It was called Sale of the Century. And they were giving away a 18-inch color TV set and a retail for $699. And my daughter went, how did you guys afford? I'm like, I have no idea.
We didn't.
I have no idea. Concerts were cheap, shirts were cheap, but TV. I mean, the VCR was $899 on that episode.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, we walked away seeing Night Ranger when most of the world didn't know who they were, other than, oh, I know that song. You know.
Yeah.
So we're at on the Midnight Madness tour.
Man, Midnight Madness. Well, Andy and I have different experiences on this one because I went with Joey Wolf. No way. That's what Joey loves saying. Joey got his tickets and we were in the front row, front row right behind the pit. So we were 6 rows back. And it was the very first very first rock concert at Riverbend. That would have been 1984.
Yes.
And gosh, Sister Christian had just exploded that spring. And next thing you know, we had a big headline tour with Night Ranger, like I said, and Tony Carey. It's a Fine, Fine Day opened up. Great show. I've got a couple shows from a 110 camera, and Jeff Watson had red parachute pants on at that concert, but I don't know where those pictures are. They're very faded looking, those cameras back then, the film speed was horrible, but you could just kind of see a ghost image of him on stage in front of us. We were so damn close to scare the band. But Andy went with didn't scare the band at all.
My experience was slightly different. I didn't go with Brent. I wanted to go. I couldn't get anybody to go with me or take me because I still couldn't drive then. Long story short is my brother and his friend, who were seniors, were making fun of Night Ranger, calling him derogatory names at my house while the videos were playing. And my brother's friend, Scott, his girlfriend at the time, Shannon Reiner, is one of the hottest girls at our school. She says, I like Night Ranger. And I said, you do? And I said, I need somebody to take me to the concert. Do you want to go? And she's like, sure. So I got to go to the concert with one of the hottest girls in our school.
So you peaked in 9th grade.
I peaked, and I didn't need... To tie it in, I just watched this episode today of WKRP. It's like when Les Nessman asked Lonnie or Jennifer Marlowe to go to the Silver Sow ceremony.
Yep.
That's about how I felt, because I was like, Shannon. But yeah, I was there. We were sitting way back, Brent, and behind the row behind the soundboard.
Yeah.
You know how far back that is at Riverbend.
Yeah.
But, all that aside, it was so freaking cool because I was there and I was kind of like, again, I'm with this really hot girl who she's not there with me. She just wanted to go to the concert. Let's not make any misunderstanding there. But I'm so lost in the moment because I love this band and I'm singing along, and I look over at one point they're doing Chippin' Away, and she's singing Chippin' Away, and I'm like, how do you know this song? She's like, I told you I love this band. So that was my Midnight Madness experience.
The only reason we didn't go together is because Joey out of nowhere showed up and had 2 tickets and said, you're going with me. And I'm like, okay.
There you go.
Sorry, Andy.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. Yeah, but anyway, so that's why I survived.
So is the 7 Wishes tour where we all intercede? Well, you guys, did you also? Now was Columbus was first and Cincinnati was second.
So you can start it off, Josh.
All right.
Take the lead on this one.
So we all saw him in Columbus, August 18th, 1985. This was when at the Ohio State Fair, back when the Ohio State Fair was a big deal. Yes. I mean, it still is, but I don't know how many thousands.
It was huge then.
Because it was free. And
oh, well, I don't remember that, was it?
Well, when you paid your admission,
yes. Well, when you
got to go to the concert, but the admission was higher to go in, if I remember correctly. So instead of it being like $5 to get into the fair, it might have been like $8, so you got the concert.
I don't know if that's true because they had big concerts every night, so it would be just a set rate the whole time. I mean, they had, like I said, big concerts every night. I think probably that year, or maybe the year before or after, 38 Special was there, and they would always have different genres, Dolly Parton, Kenny Rogers. So, but it was every night. So I don't think the price has probably changed because every night they had a big act. So, but anyways, you bought an admission, you got to go to the show for free, or however you want to look at it. And so I know my aunts went. They got there at like 10 a.m. and they were still a good probably 10 rows back on Kelly's side. And again, I just turned 8 years old in June, and I had already been a Night Ranger fan for probably a year and a half or maybe 2 years, about 6 years old. So my grandma took me, and now my mom was the oldest daughter, and my mom had me young, so my grandma was probably 48, right around there maybe, when she took me. So she, young and everything. I mean, but she had gotten, she twisted her ankle really bad like the day before, so she didn't know if she was going to be able to take me or not. I don't actually remember that. She told me that. But we went. Again, my first big concert experience. My grandpa had taken me to a honky tonk to go see George Jones a year before, but not quite the same. I remember the merch stand. I got a sleeveless Seven Wishes shirt. It had the logo on the front and the girl on the back. I got the necklace. And I think I wanted the tour book, but my grandma didn't get that for me. I got the necklace and the shirt. So we're there at 4 o'clock. Show starts at 8, and we are already up in the bleachers. So it was a horse track. The stage is like in the middle of the horse track. The field has seats, and then the track has seats, and then you get to the grandstand. And we're probably 2/3 of the way up. So 8 years old, no cell phones, anything like that. Waiting for 4 hours, that's like a lifetime. But
it is.
I remember one of the people there had bought a tour book and had looked at it and offered to sell it to my grandma for like half price, and so I did get a tour book. And you guys remember the food fight?
I don't.
No, we were down on the dirt.
Well, that's where the food fight was. I just remember there was a food fight, and all you would see is just stuff flying in the air where people were throwing stuff back.
Was this why you were waiting?
Yes.
Oh, we got there like an hour before the show.
All right. So yeah, so there was a huge food fight, and I remember meeting some older teenager later that summer. All of us used to hang out up on the street and play football and stuff. And he was older, and he was at that show, and he said that someone bought a personal pizza and just came back in and took the slices and just winged them. Just this huge food.
Why would you do that to a pizza?
How fun is it just to wing pizza at somebody? It might be worth the $3 back then. But yeah, huge food fight. Jack Blades came out early, maybe like 5 o'clock, and just did a real quick speech to the crowd. He had a Cincinnati Reds hat on, and then the band walked back to their trailer. I think you guys, saw some of that. But then the band came out, and I had binoculars. I got to, from a distance, see Night Ranger in 1985, 8 years old, man.
So how excited were you, Josh? Like, I mean, you knew songs. Because I'm trying to remember, at that age, when I was that age, I just discovered Kiss, but I didn't go see Kiss. So I don't have that excitement. Like, I would have probably lost my mind if I had seen Kiss at that age.
Yeah,
well,
me too.
I mean, I don't know if you remember.
I remember I wanted to see them in '84. They played at Legend Valley, which is
that became Buckeye Lake, Andy.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I remember
been there once.
And
I've been there twice.
Had my aunts who were all in their teens, early 20s, and I remember Night Rangers playing there in '84, and I wanted to go, and they would not take me. Like, that was a place. I remember my aunt saying, remember she saw someone's head get smashed in a car door, and so yeah.
Did you ever get to go there?
I did not. I've never been there.
Well, it was basically farmland.
Yeah, I mean, I know of it.
But there was a hill on the right side of your face in the stage, and we came to find out that was called Stoner Hill. So if you wanted the drugs, it was all up on the hill, because we were up there walking and all we could smell was pot. And I remember we got to the bottom of the hill and this guy was just laying there and he's vomiting and it looked like a fountain. It just kept coming up.
Ugh.
And remember that, Andy? Do you remember that at all?
We went there to remember that.
We went and saw Bon Jovi, Cinderella, and 1, 2, 3, 4, the Smithereens.
That was probably 1987, because my aunt was at that show. Yeah, it's only like 30 minutes away from me. Guns N' Roses and Aerosmith played there.
There was 100,000 people at the Bon Jovi show.
Yeah, my aunt was real up close because she had some photos that she took. But yeah, it doesn't do much. It really didn't. By the 90s, the Grateful Dead, Jimmy Buffett was there. The one rock concert that was there that I did not go to was 90. For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge tour, Van Halen played there and Vince Neil opened. But after that, it was just, there wasn't much going on. It still does some stuff. They still
weren't the Juggalos there? Juggalos in their what's it? Not Fresca.
Why are you asking if you go?
Huh? What do they drink?
Fanta,
yeah. But so yeah, I just remember, seeing them, and my aunt, I remember, always checked the record label. She'd put a check mark next to the songs that the bands played. And I remember wanting to go home and do that. So if you dig out my original copy that I got for Christmas of '84, you'll see the check marks and everything and next to them. And yeah, just, I guess I never knew that you could go see concerts until, I went and saw George Jones at a honky tonk, and I'm like, well, 7 years old or whatever. I'm like, this isn't that great, but now I know we can do this. So,
Brent, tell him our story of Riverbend.
So you guys went to Columbus.
We drove up to from Cincinnati. It's a 2-hour drive to the Ohio State Fair, and we piled into my red Chevette. I remember Joey had to sit in the hatchback. How many people went with us? Me, you, Rob Tipton.
I don't even remember.
Joey, and I think there was somebody else. But Joey had to ride in the hatch all the way up there. It was horrible. But and I had, I drove everywhere because I was a guy that knew how to get everywhere.
Yeah, but and you had the most reliable car too.
And but I had no idea where the Ohio State Fair was. Had no idea. But I pretended like I did. Oh yeah, it's in Columbus. Okay, everybody gets in the car, and I didn't tell this story to Andy till, God, it might have been on the podcast. But so we get up in Columbus, and somebody says, "Are you sure you know where you're going?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's here in Columbus." I thought it was in the heart of the city, and so I just kept driving, and next thing I know, I see the big OHIO red letters that with the entrance when you walk through.
Yep.
We went past it. I went, there it is.
Dumb luck, man.
Yeah, I know. I had no clue. I just wanted to go. So we parked the car. We went inside. We immediately saw Brad and Kelly throwing frisbee.
Yes.
And the frisbee, they were next to the bus, and we were on the other side of the fence. And the frisbee went over the fence, and I threw it back to Brad. And then I remember Joey sneaking into the fenced-in area after they went in, and Kelly was sitting on the bus with the screen up. Well,
curtains.
Well, yeah, with the curtains. The curtains were open. You could see Kelly sitting there. So Joey walks up and jumps and knocks on the thing, and all of a sudden, the curtains just shut on him. It was hysterical. He was so sad that he thought he pissed off the band.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we get to the Ohio State Fair. We go to our little area in the loosest dirt in the world. I remember that dirt just would blow.
Yeah.
And Andy kept trying to get a picture of this dude with a mohawk who had dragons tattooed on his face all the way down his cheeks. He had no shirt on, and they went all the way down to his belly button. And Andy kept saying, stand over there. And he'd get his camera, and I'd be like waving. Finally, the guy just went, something like that. And he posed for the picture. I wish you could find those.
Yeah, I do too.
But I remember being in that crowd, and we were towards Josh. We were back by where the field met the bleachers on Jeff Watson's and Fitz's side. But I remember that lamp popping open, because we had no idea how they were going to come on stage. And you see Jack come up and do what we all know from the video.
The hand.
That was one of the most amazing concert experiences I had in my life, seeing that optical illusion. Yeah. That was my recollection of that show. Andy, what about you?
You've got a better memory. I just remember
I know.
I remember the infield stuff and seeing the guys play. I don't remember
like,
much of the show.
Sounds like Andy was on Stoner Hill a lot of shows.
I was in the more cocaine, less trousers phase.
Yeah. So that night we drove back. I remember dropping Andy off, and Joey lived over by Eastgate Mall, and there was a Holiday Inn there. So whoever was playing Riverbend usually stayed at the Holiday Inn. So we went over back to the Holiday Inn after dropped Andy off, and the tour bus pops up, and we're like, oh, holy shit, it's Night Ranger, And off the bus comes Neil Young's band. We met everybody in Neil Young's band except for Neil Young. That was during his
mildly exciting.
But I knew who the guitar player was, because I remember that album. God, it was like called Transformer or something like that. I remember it had just came out, and they had played They were coming back from the show from Riverbend, and so evidently Night Ranger didn't stay, or they might not have been in town yet. Who knows? But they didn't stay at the Holiday Inn, and so then we went to God. We got to kind of go backwards, because this was the concert Andy and I camped out for.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Did they played Cincinnati? Was it the next night or the
next night? Yeah, the very next night. And we got second row tickets, dead center in the pit. And that was phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, I know we've told the story, and it doesn't need to necessarily be rehashed here, but for all you youngsters out there, you used to be able to camp out at a Ticketron, not Ticketmaster. I think it was Ticketron at the time.
It was Ticketmaster by then, because that's what Riverbend went by. Ticketmaster. So
you could actually get in line and still get good seats. This is before there was online and before there was bots and people could buy them. You had to stand in line. Brent and I had
and front row was the same price as the last row.
Yeah. So you for whatever it was, $15 or $20, you could get front row seats, or darn close. Long story short is that we felt compelled to camp out because we thought there'd be a big rush for Night Ranger tickets. And we did. We camped out at the local spot we picked.
Lazarus.
Promptly fell asleep.
Yeah,
we were waiting in line.
Well, we were waiting. We were camped out by the front door, and it was by 2 a.m, and nobody else was there. So Andy's like, why don't we go sit in the car? Yeah. Okay. We'll wake up and there's 100 people outside the door. So I'll never forget that. And I looked at Andy. I went, fuck this shit. And he's like, where are you going? I said, I'm getting in there.
Yeah. So
and I went around.
Most of you who don't know Brent will always find a way to get what Brent wants. and Brent wanted to be first in line. And at this point, we clearly were not going to be first in line. And Brent, I think sometimes he fires off without even an idea. He just looked at me and says, "You go get in line. I'll be back." And I said, "Okay." And I jumped in line with all the other people who, we thought were in line for Night Ranger, and we blew it. I'm at the front door peeking in because we're just waiting to see somebody let us in because you had to wait for the store to open.
Yeah.
And I see the a couple of stragglers, the employees walking in, going up the escalator. And then I see my boy Brent right in line with all the employees. And I'm like, what the F? And Brent's like,
waving.
So
yeah, I went back to the employee interest and I begged the lady and explained the story. And she's like, but it's first come, first serve. I'm like, but we were there first. Even though you snooze, you lose. That's the way that's what I would have said to somebody. But
so the door opens. We all run upstairs to where the Ticketmaster outlet thing was. I run up there, and Brent's the first person in line. He's like, "Give me your money. Come on, bring me your money. Bring me your money." And I ran past all these people and handed Brent my money. He got us the tickets to find out everyone behind us was buying tickets for another concert, not the Night Ranger concert.
How could we not notice they were deadheads,
So anyway, Brent always gets what he wants when it comes to music and concerts.
I try. And that night, we were second row.
Look at that.
It was It was Ticketron, Andy. It was Ticketron.
Does it say Ticketron, Josh?
It says Ticketron on the back.
Yeah, it didn't convert to Ticketmaster until a couple years later. But I remember being at that show, and I was working at Chick-fil-A back then. And this girl, which we were all in love with her, named Chrissy Elfers.
Oh,
Chrissy was at the show, and she found me and she snuck up to the second row. And there used to be this little old man who stood about 5 foot tall, and he was about 89 years old. Do you remember that guy, Andy?
No.
That worked at Riverbend? And he kept chasing. I mean, Chrissy was on her hands and knees crawling through the aisles, trying to hide from the guy. And I remember he comes up from behind her and just grabs her by the hair, and she jumped over the seats and was running around, blah, 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 blah. And then she put her hair up, and she went and bought one of those Night Ranger sweatshirts with the rainbow logo. And she came down wearing that, sitting there, and he came after her. She's doing everything she could to disguise her look. But if she wouldn't have been cute, I would have said, get the hell out of here, But yeah, great show. That was the show. I had my hand up in the air, and Brad came and just put a pick in my hand, and he closed my hand up so I wouldn't lose the pick. One of those big old metal picks he used to play. Good times.
My different tickets here I got. Because I think I had the same. Josh, was that June 24th?
That's August 19th, 1985. Your June 24th is probably Big Life. So that's the next tour you guys saw, which I never again see Night Ranger in their classic lineup. That was it for me. But you guys saw them on Big Life.
Everything.
Correct?
Yeah, we went to the Big Life tour again at Riverbend with the outfield opening. And I remember I thought it was odd because everybody was sitting down during the outfield. I mean, they were just sitting there like, this band is just wasting our time. And I remember the lead singer yelling, "What is this, Bible Day?
Yes.
Get up."
Oh, real quick before I forget, so we were second row for the Seven Wishes, and I caught a Jack Blades pick. That was the highlight of that show for me.
Yeah, I was so jealous too.
So yeah,
it didn't say it was just a regular, like Hamer pick, wasn't
Ernie
it?
Ball or whatever he used.
Ernie Ball.
Yeah. Was there a big change between the Seven Wishes tour and the Big Life tour?
Our seats were worse.
There's the ticket.
What is that? Seven Wishes?
That's Midnight Madness.
No, this is from. Oh, you're right. Sorry. I'm looking at the wrong date on it. Sorry.
Stoner Hill.
Hang on.
Andy's never been stoned in his life or drunk.
You ever been drunk, Andrew?
This one.
Never. Yeah, that's when they went to Ticketmaster.
Yeah.
So that is July 16th, Thursday. $15.50. Section 300. Yeah, that's Big Life.
Hey, it's what you make. It's what you make it.
Yeah, we were on Kelly's side on that one, but we were on an aisle seat, which was lucky. I think, if I remember right.
And then the following year, Man in Motion, just with you guys where you saw them, definitely shows how they were kind of
was that?
$11.50.
Yeah.
But where?
Yep.
So that one says at Bogarts in Cincinnati. Explain to people the difference between Bogarts and River Bend.
River Bend holds what? 15,000 people with a lawn?
15,000, yeah.
Yeah, because they got a lawn.
It's a shed. It's typically a shed you'd see in any major city.
And Bogarts holds probably 2,000, 2,500 people tops.
I would even say 25. I'd say it's somewhere between 15 and 2.
I think it's 15. I asked somebody once because I know when my band played there, we were a few 100,000 short of the actual filling the place.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, Bogarts is your typical rock club on a university campus, and
yes,
just within a year and a half, they are going from Riverbend to Bogarts, and this is even without grunge and everything else. So you can see that Night Ranger was having some issues just even before grunge hit. So that was the first show you guys were able. Well, that's the infamous Ding Dong Ho Ho show.
Yeah, I did something I regret, but
and then this was the first show you guys got to meet him after the show, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
So that had to be pretty interesting.
It was cool. It was cold as shit outside because it was January.
Yeah, I mean, and literally,
quick.
You are in an alleyway. Josh, you've been there, haven't you?
Yep.
I mean, you are in an alley, and you're catching them basically running from the door of the venue to their. Were they even getting in a van, weren't they, Brent? They weren't even getting in a bus.
I honestly don't remember at that point.
And, I mean, basically, when the show ended, you had to run out of the venue and get to the back and try to catch them. And usually you could catch somebody for a few minutes. And I think somewhere I have pictures, or somebody's got a picture of that. Do we not, Brent?
I don't.
Yeah, I think there's somewhere. But anyway, yeah. Did we meet all of them there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, only one we didn't meet was Jesse. I mean, we said hi to Jesse, but we didn't get his autograph because he wasn't on the. We didn't think of him being on the album.
Right.
I'm a real stickler when it comes to that. I don't let people who weren't in the band sign my stuff.
He was on a Night Ranger album cover eventually.
Eventually, I would have let him sign that one.
Listen, that was a fun show, man. We were front row for that thing. Bogarts is a festival. If you're familiar with Columbus, it is like the Newport. It is
but bigger. It's bigger than Newport.
It is just. I think it's smaller.
Yeah, the Newport.
Really?
The Newport holds more people than.
Newport's got a balcony that goes all the way around the entire upper level.
Yeah, Bogarts
comes up to the stage.
Bogarts is on. When you talk about bigger rock clubs, it is more towards the smaller capacity.
It used to be a movie theater, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it was a one-room movie theater.
I mean. You could do the math on how big a theater is.
It's probably what the Newport was too.
Well,
the balcony.
It was more. It was probably at one time actually just a theater.
Yeah, theater.
For production and stuff there on campus. But the Newport, I think, holds close to 2,000. I think Bogarts is close to 15. And then you got also your shittier rock clubs that are smaller stuff. Annie's, Al Rosavilla, that hold 800 some people, and Bogarts is like right in between them. The Agora in Cleveland is more like the Newport in Columbus. Both are about 2,000 seaters. My next show, and you guys were probably around the same time period if you went, because that's really the end of the classic era for Night Ranger. But in August 2nd of 1990, I got to see Damn Yankees and Bad Company. 13 years old at the Capitol Music Center, which was just basically a huge stage put outside of one of the horse racing parks here in Columbus. I think Beulah Downs. But so yeah, that was my second time getting to see a member of Night Ranger. My aunts took me with some of their friends, and got to see. And this was before High Enough came out. I do remember High Enough hadn't really been a single yet. At least I don't think it was, because I don't think they didn't play it. Maybe it had been a single. I could be wrong on that, but I know they didn't play High Enough. I do remember that. They played Coming of Age, Bad Reputation, Damn Yankees, Come Again. I think they played Mystified, Rock City. I think that was it. And then they did...
Pile Driver. They played Pile Driver on that tour.
I don't think they did it on that show that I was at. Then they did Cat Scratch Fever, Renegade,
Rockin' America?
Yes, I think it was You Can Still Rockin' America on that one.
Was it billed as a co-headlining show back then?
I don't think it was, because Bad Company it wasn't, because Bad Company closed every show.
Yeah, well, Bad Company closed every show on that tour.
Show, and
so when High Enough came out, then is when it became a co-headlining tour.
I'm not even sure if that's... I mean, they toured into 1991 with Bad Company, and Bad Company was still the headliner all the way through.
No, but it was a co-headline. They had equal time on stage once it became a co-headlining tour.
Maybe so. I mean,
because that's what it was built here. It was they built it with it because tickets were like $20.
Did you guys see them in 90 or 91?
Saw them at Cincinnati Gardens with Bad Company, and it was, like I said, it was built as a concert relief show, because for people who were tired of paying high prices at concerts and blah blah blah, because that's when they started doing the tiering of the prices for the seats in the sections, thanks to the Sheds. The Sheds started all that crap.
Was that 1990 or 91?
I don't recall. I don't have my ticket in front of me.
Did you guys see him on the Don't Tread tour?
Yeah.
I don't think I did, Brent. Did I go with you on that?
They opened for Poison.
Well, that would have been...
I don't think I saw him
93. That would still be Don't Tread. I saw him December of 92 at Vets Memorial in Columbus, and it was Jackal, Slaughter, and Damn Yankees. Couple things I remember is Slaughter was horrible. To this day, it's still one of the worst sounding shows I've ever seen. Jackal was really cool. No one really knew Jackal. I remember I went out and got their cassette tape. And the great thing also was I saw them in December of 92, and all the Damn Yankees merch just said World Tour 93. So I'm like, listen, I got that shirt, and it's already good for the whole next year. Like, I'm like, I don't know, just little things you think of, like, it's great that it doesn't say 92 and I can only wear it for a couple of years and it's old. It's like it's got the whole next year on it. But 1850, I was up in the balcony. My aunt took me.
And your aunt must really love you.
Well, not at this time, because I bought her ticket to take me. What would I have been? I'd been 15 at the time, somewhere around there. So... and then you said you saw him with Poison.
I saw him with Jackal, at Hare Arena. They opened, Rob Calvert and I went up to Hare Arena. And if anybody ever went to Hare Arena in Dayton, Ohio, it was a shithole. We walked into the bathroom, and there was these guys, about 20 guys, all in a circle, just screaming and laughing. And as we walk to the bathroom and go to the urinals, we look, and there's a guy that's passed out on the floor, and they're all just pissing on him.
That's right.
Way to be Ohio. Way to be Ohio.
I'd never seen anything so nasty other than being Annie's. And Annie's had a waterfall that you pissed in. Ugh. And some guy was laying inside the waterfall one night at, one of the shows. But, yeah, so I went outside. I went back out of the bathroom, and I went and got one of the security guards. I went, there's a guy that might be dead in the bathroom, and everybody's pissing on him. And he went, I ain't touching that guy. I don't care, So he gets his radio. He's like, security, security. And he starts, he's like, I'm wrapped up with, He's like, thanks for telling me, man. Oh, it was gross.
Hare Arena is one of those places that had such a long history. Just recently demolished, like in the last few weeks.
Same with the Cincinnati Gardens, was just demolished about last year.
And there is pictures of the Stones, Rod Stewart and the Faces, just everyone. Leonard Skinner played Hare Arena. I think that might be where maybe Kiss was playing when Paul Stanley talked about the first time he realized, they were really taking off was at the Hare Arena. So you saw him at Hare Arena. That was probably, again, late 92.
It was a summer show. I know that.
So when did you see Poison in Damn Yankees, and where was that at?
God, that was a Riverbend. And again, my buddy, Joey, calls me and says he was working at the Eastgate Mall. He's an optometrist, or works for one of the glass factory places. He goes, "You ain't gonna believe this, but Jack Blades and Tommy Shaw are jogging around the parking lot of Eastgate Mall." Well, I live 5 minutes from Eastgate Mall. I got in my car and I flew up there, and so he's waiting at the Holiday Inn because, like I said, everybody played Riverbend usually stayed at the Holiday Inn, and up comes jogging with Jack and Tommy, and Jack goes, "I guess you're here for us." I said, well, he called me, and I had all these, I had Big Life promo posters, and he's like, "Man," he goes, "this is the only album I don't have any promotional stuff on." I said, "Really?" I said, I got about 10 more posters at home if you want some." He said, "Really? You do that?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll go home and get them." He goes, "Well, just leave them at the front desk and put your name and stuff in the tube, yada, yada, yada," because I had a poster tube. So anyway, I put all the posters in there. I left them at the front desk, and I put my name and address in there, like he said. And I said, "It'd be really cool if we got backstage passes tonight because we're going to the show." Had no idea. We went to Will Call, and there was 2 backstage passes waiting for me. So Joey and I go backstage, and Jack comes over, and he's like, "Man, thank you so much for the posters. Those were awesome. And Josh, I've shown it to you." He goes, here's my manager's business card. Anywhere I'm playing, you call this number, and you get free tickets."
That's awesome.
So the next time they came around, wherever it was, I called up his manager, and this went on all day long. Phone calls to California weren't free back then. And he called me back like 3 times now. "Now, who are you?" I'm like, "I'm Brent Walter. I have your business card." I said, "Do you need me to read the address?" And he's like, "How do you have my..." I'm like, "I told you, Jack Blades gave it to me." And he said, he told me anytime I wanted tickets to call you and you will hook me up. So he calls me like an hour before we got to leave. I think we were going to Dayton or whatever, to see the show. And he says, "Okay, I'm only giving you these tickets. I can't get a hold of Jack." He said, "But it sounds like something Jack would do." I'm like, "Well, he did." So I got to use the business card once. I still have it. It's right behind me over here. I didn't pull it out as a prop. So yeah, that was my one of my coolest experiences with Jack Blades. It's probably why I've always been so fond of the guy because he's always been cool to me.
Sure.
So yeah, so that was it for Damn Yankees, and after that, I didn't see Jack Blades again until Night Ranger. But we've got a whole nother era of Night Ranger to talk about now.
Well, I see Night Ranger again September 5th, 1993 at the Al Rosa Festival of Rock at the Al Rosa Villa in Columbus. It was an outdoor event, and it was actually the first Blitz Bash for 99.7 The Blitz, which is a radio station here in Columbus. It's still around. There was a little time period where it wasn't, but it's still around, and they did that Blitz Bash every summer for at least a decade. I know that this was the first one, and the second one was Dio. The third one was Jackal, which I went to, headlining, and the fourth one was Seven Mary 3. And then after that, I think after that they moved it to Polaris, and I think Stone Temple Pilots did the fifth one. But it was an all-day event outside, and I knew that Night Ranger was a three-piece because in Metal Edge there was a little section called Rock on the Rise, and they had Spotlight, Night Ranger getting back together and having a demo, and it showed a little promo photo of them. So I knew that they were back together with Brad and Kelly and Gary Moon. So I knew what to expect lineup-wise. It was an all-day event. We got there early. I don't remember there being any merch, but we may not even left up front. Like, we were all the way up front. Local bands were playing. There was an AC/DC tribute band, Riff Raff playing, and then Night Ranger came out, and I bet there was probably a few thousand people there, 2,000 or 3,000, and it was great because this is at the zenith almost of grunge. You're talking going into the fall of '93. Grunge has been out for a couple years, and nothing. These bands that we talk about were the uncoolest in high school.
Yeah.
And while I was in high school, I had just a couple friends that still liked that stuff. But if you mentioned Whitesnake, Kiss, Motley Crue, it was the uncoolest thing you could even talk about. And it was great going to that and seeing a couple thousand people cheering for Night Ranger. I was like, I never thought I would see that in 1993. And they played. I remember I had a little notebook I kept at school, and I remember I had the set list. And back then they played Alligator, Your Eyes Are the Window, some songs that never made it onto the Mojo record. And they were just a three-piece then. They didn't have David Zajac as the extra guy there on stage. But that was 93, and then I think for all of us, it starts kicking back in. Now, I think we all had tickets maybe to see Shaw Blades in 95.
I'll show you something here. That's my unused autographed by Jack Blades ticket. I told him he owed me $14 for that ticket. He just laughed and signed it for me.
Actually, he owed you $12.25. $10 plus $2.25.
Oh, yeah, there it is. Yeah, I said, you owe me the money for this ticket. He just laughed. But I kept it. I never cashed it in. I
cashed mine in. I think mine was supposed to be at the Newport in Columbus. But so that Shaw Blades tour never took place. Do you remember when you saw Night Ranger?
I was going to say, the day of that Shaw Blades show, my God, I was married once before. My then fiance, her and I got the Bogarts, and I handled the tickets, and the guy's like, "Oh, that show ain't happened tonight." And I was like, "Ha ha ha." He's like, "No, really, it's been canceled." And I walked back out the door, and I looked at the marquee. I was like, I was so freaking bummed.
Yeah.
So he's like, "You gotta take your ticket back to the thing." So I ran over to a payphone and I called Andy. I'm like, "Don't come down here.
Yep.
It ain't happening." "Oh, you're full of shit." I'm like, "No, Andy, it ain't happening." We were so bummed.
It happened to me once. I went to Columbus to go see David Allan Coe, and he couldn't make it. And they had gotten T. Graham Brown to play. So I was like, fuck it. I can get drunk and listen to T. Graham Brown, too. So
Now Josh, did you see Shaw Blades ever?
I did.
Didn't they play Indy?
They played. Well, I don't think they did. They did a couple shows in '95,
right?
But they didn't really. They cut that tour. I saw them down the road in 2007 when they did the Influence tour.
Gotcha.
So I don't know which show was first in '95 for Night Ranger for you guys. I'll just kind of kick it off. I saw them July 8th at the Newport Music Hall, and by this time, I kind of, I was driving. I had met a couple bands, so I kind of knew, hey, if I go before the show or after the show, I might be able to meet them. So I went before the show, And this was the first time I ever got to meet him. I remember talking to Brad by the bus and Kelly, and it's just like, holy shit. These are the guys who are on these cassette tapes and records. I mean, my whole life, basically. I mean, you go back to 6 years old. I think that's why it's just always cool when we meet them, is, especially to me, they have been there basically my entire life. And just being there and meeting them there out back, I remember talking to Brad a little bit about Ozzy. I remember asking Kelly how many copies Man in Motion sold. And they were all great to me. And we went in and saw the show. And I was up front. I got a guitar pick from Brad. And I remember them playing. Now, Mojo, the record hadn't come out yet, but they were playing songs from that record. So I remember asking after the show, what happened to Your Eyes Are the Window and Alligator? And because those songs were kicked off, but they were playing Mojo and Try and some of those other songs from the record. So what was great was meeting them and talking to them. They offered to put me on the guest list for the next night, which was at Tangiers in Akron, Ohio. So we drove up there. Tangiers was a great place. It was just sold to the LeBron James Foundation. They're going to make a big community center out of it. But it's basically like a Las Vegas cabaret in Akron. Just a beautiful place. I love going there. You talk to any artist who's played there and you mention it, and they remember it. Yeah. Kelly, I've talked to, he remembers the show. So it was great. And what was cool about that is, I got free tickets. So especially back then, being 18 and not making, any money, free show for me. And I was dating a really cute girl, and her friend came with us. But I had told Kelly I saw them when I was 8 years old, which I thought that was a big deal at the time. 10 years ago, right? I saw you 10 years ago when I was 8, which again to me was a lifetime. But he mentioned that on stage. He's like, I'm just talking to someone, and he said, I saw you when I was 8 years old. And I was like, holy shit, that's
me.
That's me. And so I know you guys saw him right around that same time period.
July 18th.
Yeah.
All right. So you guys saw them. Well, so they needed to talk to their coordinator, because they. Well, here's what's crazy about that Tangier show is they were playing a second show that night, and I couldn't go. I had to work at like 4:30 in the morning the next day. I had to turn down Kelly Kagi. You want to go to the next show? And I'm like, fuck. I was like, I can't. Another thing about that show is they played Stampede from Brad's solo album on the encore. But so a week later, so you guys they're hitchhiking back to Ohio and Kentucky, and
northern Kentucky. They're playing Coyotes, right, Brent?
Yeah.
There's my I showed it before. There's the autograph ticket. We met him. That's got all 4 members on it.
David Zychek.
David
Zychek was the guitar. He played guitars, keys. He did a little bit of everything on the whole tour of '95 with him. So if you saw him during that time period, you actually saw 4 guys on the stage.
Yeah, and I've posted the pictures from that show. I don't know how much, Brent, you remember. I remember a friend of ours from school, his band was the opening band. I remember we were having a good time. I just don't remember the details. Again, I have some of the pictures to remind me, but I just don't have that memory.
What I remember about that show was you turning to me and saying, God, they need Jack Blades, And I shook my head yes, because, we'd seen every tour with Night Ranger, and now to see him with, only 2 guys, it was just, it was heartbreaking.
It was just so different.
But it was still good. We still, we accepted it for what it was, and we weren't knocking Gary. It just we missed Jack, Jeff, and Fitz is what we what we missed. But some Night Ranger was better than no Night Ranger.
Yes.
And, like I said, we went. I mean, we went for free. Wasn't it a free show for us?
Yeah, I think so.
But we would have paid anyway.
Yeah, there's no price on this ticket. It was given to us.
Yeah, they were free tickets. I don't know if it was because Steve opened for them and he gave them to us, or if it was because it was a radio event.
Yeah, I don't remember. I was trying to read it while you were talking. I don't have any. It just said 0 price on it. So, but yeah, we met them after the show. We hung out, and they were incredibly gracious.
Yeah,
I remember that. I remember they talked to us. They hung out and signed autographs for everybody. They were in no rush. They, I mean, it was awesome for a fan to just, Josh, you've had that experience. Sometimes you meet rock stars or celebrities and they're just kind of seem put out or by the whole process, but that was not the case with these guys.
Well, and I remember what struck me was when Gary Moon announced he was from Dayton, Ohio.
Yeah,
and we were blown away by that,
Yep.
because most of our concert experiences at that point in time were 54 miles north of us. We, went to every Kiss tour up there. Everybody saw everybody up in Dayton.
Yeah.
Here's a good. So this is 19. I got all my ticket stubs here. So they give people an idea of what was going on 1995. Here's just some of the shows. We talk about grunge and everything. Here's who I saw at the Newport, March of 95, Skid Row.
Nice.
April of 95, again, Newport, Jackal. April of 95, Newport, Extreme.
Nice.
Now, Van Halen and Aerosmith are about two bands that grunge didn't touch. I saw Van Halen at the Nutter Center. But Slash's Snake Pit at the Newport in April. Collective Soul at the Newport. And Black Sabbath with Motorhead and Fear Factory at the Newport. And there was no balcony open. I couldn't believe how empty that place was.
Wow.
Keep talking. I'm going to get something from the Newport.
And here's another one.
What was that triple bill again? You said Black Sabbath?
It was Black Sabbath. It was an expensive ticket for the Newport. It was $20, which that was almost like arena tickets price back then. But it was Black Sabbath with Motorhead, Monday, July 3rd, 1995.
That was at the Newport, and the balcony was closed. That's
now. I mean, it was
it
was just Tony Iommi, Black Sabbath, but
yeah, but still, Motorhead
and there was another group, I think. Well, Fear Factory. Fear Factory was just starting out, but yeah, it was empty, and I was right in front of Lemmy, the loudest concert I ever saw in my life.
Yeah, it's
Motorhead, and I was right in front of Lemmy, so I'm getting spittle all over me, and I got his guitar pick.
Wow.
But,
okay, sorry, that just.
But yeah,
caught me off guard.
Night Ranger at the Newport, Megadeth at the Newport just a week later, and that was Flotsam and Jetsam, Korn, and Megadeth at the Newport. Now Korn wasn't hadn't quite hit; they weren't even on the ticket stub, but so yeah, Saigon Kick at the Alrosa Villa, which I know Brent
was there,
but so those are the band. That's where these bands that were even huge in the late 80s and early 90s are playing. And you can see just how hard it was even for Night Ranger, because Night Ranger was having issues in 1989, let alone with grunge. God. But so later that winter of 95, I see Night Ranger at the Alrosa Villa, and snowstorm came in, so I think a lot of people had, and it started like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It was bad, and so I think that put a hit. There wasn't as many people as I think would have been there. I mean, it was still a decent crowd, but so they came out. By this time, the Mojo record was out, so I knew the songs, and I met them afterwards, and they said, "Hey, we're playing in Akron tomorrow at Ramones. Come up, and we'll put you on the guest list." I went back that night with met up with a couple buddies of mine, and I told them, and they were like, that's really cool. Let's do that. So we were young and dumb. We're like, well, fuck, let's just leave now. So it's again 3:00 in the morning. We decide to drive to Pittsburgh. We go to the Science Museum and do all kinds of shit. Again, the weather is still bad, but the highway was okay. Even though there was a mail truck, I remember off the side of the road and packages everywhere. I mean, a big semi truck,
Yeah.
And so we went there, and then we went to Akron, and it started snowing again. And we're outside. We found the club, and I think we were just parked there. Okay, what are we going to go do now? Are we going to go get something to eat? Just discussing that. And we're in a 79 Mercury Zephyr, and the windows are, frosted because we're all in there talking and everything. And all of a sudden, there's a knock on the window, and I kind of rub it and roll it down, and there is Kelly Kagi in this black leather trench coat, and he's got some passes, and they're all access passes, and he gives them to us. Talks to us for a little bit, and then goes back inside. And we're like, how fucking cool is that, So it was this real small rock club up in Akron. We're right up there, right front row. And I remember them playing Let 'Em Run, acoustic.
Yeah.
They did an acoustic part during the show. So they brought out the stools and everything and played 3 or 4 songs. They opened with Longest Days off of Mojo. And that night, they were getting ready to head to Connecticut. They were kind of getting ready to end the tour. They were going to Connecticut to play a show. And then they were going to start coming back. And they were going to play at the same club the day after that Connecticut show. So we were thinking, well, fuck, we'll go to Connecticut and see them. And then come back and go to Akron. And it's snowing real bad. I remember Kelly Kagi, like a dad to us, talking us out of it. Like, guys, listen, we're in the bus. The bus weighs a lot. We're all 18 years old, just we're
why not?
We're dipshits, I mean, I'm still a dipshit, but even more back then. And he kind of talked us out of it, so we didn't go. And the 2 days later, we went back up, used our little passes, and got to see Night Ranger again at the same club. And it was great because they came out afterwards each show, and I remember them talking and getting to talk to Gary and all of those guys. And so that was the last shows of the Moon Ranger era. And then we kind of, what's that?
Well, I wanted to show you when you talk about the Newport. I ripped this off the telephone pole when I went to this show.
Oh, and
that's the Paul Stanley flyer, and here I'll blow up. There's the Newport logo.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Went and saw Paul Stanley in that little club with Warrant when Warrant was nobody.
Yeah.
And if you're from Columbus or you read or collect concert stuff, in the 70s, the Newport, in 70s into the early 80s, the Newport was called the Agora. So you had the Agora in Columbus, and you had the Agora
I didn't know that.
in Cleveland. Now the Agora that's in Cleveland right now isn't the original location. I don't know much.
It burnt
more.
down.
Yeah, I don't know much more than that. But yes, into the early 80s, the Agora in what the Newport in Columbus was called the Agora, and there's a lot of history. You ever get bored, read the history of the Newport. Queen kicked off one of their U.S. tours, like 75 there. Obviously, Kiss played there. Everybody's played there. I remember I saw Hall & Oates one year, and they said that was the first place, like they had standing ovations, and they knew that what they were doing was kind of starting to catch on.
Cool.
And I know I saw a ticket stub. I know Night Ranger played there in early '83, and I think it was still called the Agora. I saw the ticket stub. So that's really, the end of the Gary Moon era of Night Ranger. And I had gotten so what I did was had these all access passes. There's no really internet back then. There's no way to figure out when your band's playing unless you radio or Ticketmaster or something. And you saw it in the magazine, tour dates. Yeah, but that was always so far behind.
Yeah.
The dates were usually always wrong, but so I called Drive Entertainment, and I'm like, hey, I want to talk to someone with Night Ranger and see where their shows are at. And it took me a while, for them to realize I don't want to talk to the band. And they sent me to their road manager's phone number. And, he's like, how'd you get this number? And I was like, Drive gave it to me and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, listen, dude, I don't care about talking to the band. I want to spend money on you guys. Just tell me where the hell you're going to be. And he's like, okay, well, no one knows this right now, but they are back with all the original members. I can't remember when the phone call was. Now, doing this podcast and doing math, this was probably April, early part of May. So he's the one that told me about these dates, and I don't think I have a ticket because I took my all-access pass, but I do remember the date. Now, this was a great time because this is the summer of '96, and Kiss had just gotten back together. So listen to this 10-day stretch that old Josh Christopherson did back in the day. So July 11th at the Newport was Great White. July 14th, 3 days later at the Newport, Ted Nugent. July 17th, Wednesday, Kiss in Dayton.
We were there.
July 19th. July 19th. So here goes a good little stretch. So the 17th, Kiss. I took the 18th off, I guess. 19th, Kiss in Cleveland.
Well, we were there.
And then the next day, July 20th, which was my buddy's birthday, we drove to Owensboro, Kentucky, at the time the farthest west I'd ever been, and which Owensboro is almost on the very west end of Kentucky, if you guys have never been there. But Night Ranger was playing at a Marriott hotel.
God, if we'd only ran into you in Dayton and Cleveland, we would have been in Owensboro.
And yeah,
wouldn't we?
Now I will say it was a nicer Marriott, and it did have a nice little theater, I guess. And I do remember there was other acts that was scheduled to play, some country acts. I mean, but yeah, it was a Marriott hotel at the end of the day, and it was the original lineup of Night Ranger. It had the old showroom seating. I remember me and we had the all-access passes, and luckily they still had the same road manager still, and I remember at the beginning of the show, before the show started, Brad and Jeff were walking out of some room, and I remember trying to talk to Brad, and they were in a rush, and he just said a couple things to me and took off. But what I remember was, holy shit, there's Jeff Watson. And so we got this seat. It's like a half table. And I remember we're sitting with this old couple, and I'm like, yeah, they got these tickets with their room or something. And so you got all these seats, and then in between the seats and the stage is a dance floor. Empty, no seats or nothing. Night Ranger comes out, and I'm looking around. Everybody's just sitting. And the stage is it's
tiny, huh?
It's tiny. There's maybe a row of lights. I don't know. But there's Night Ranger. It's one of the, those things. It's just like you look back and it's just, was I drinking? Is that real? But yeah, it was just this little stage, and they came out the Mojo, the bass modulations, the at the beginning of Mojo. And that kind of threw me off. I'm like, all right, maybe Jeff is here with Gary. I don't know. And so, yeah, they came out to that beginning of Mojo, and Jack's up there doing Jack stuff. And after 3 or 4 songs, he was like, all right, you guys got to get up here or something. Because it was just weird. Once he said that, I was up there, and I could just extend my arm, and I could touch his bass just like that. Yeah. I probably didn't have to extend my arm that much. There And I just remember there's an older lady, like in her 60s or 70s, standing next to me. It's just whatever. She was getting into it. So yeah, that was July 20th, 1996, and we saw him at the Marriott Hotel in Owensboro, Kentucky. And I talked to someone on the page when we mentioned this story before, and I think he said he was at the show, and him and his wife just recently went back, and they said that hotel is gone now, and there's a park there. But so yeah, we did that. We drove all the way back. The next day, we went and saw Kiss in Pittsburgh, stayed the night, and the next day after that, we went to Cleveland and saw Alice Cooper and the Scorpions. So that was a hell of a week there for me.
Hello, Cleveland!
So
Gotta do my cost mine.
So is it Andy, you coming up with the California trip? Is that what's next?
Yeah, if you guys are ready to settle in for a few minutes, I can tell you a little story about
Jack and Diane.
A little ditty about Andy Night Ranger.
Andy and Gary. So this is going back to the days of the AOL chat rooms. And I've kind of briefly mentioned this story. We've talked about it. I'll try to speed it up. But even back then, again, this is in '96, I think, Josh, you were saying. So I was living with a friend of mine, Gary Kelly, and I was new to the online, the interwebs, and I didn't know what to do with it. You didn't have what you have now.
Pardon me. I couldn't.
And I had found a Night Ranger chat room on AOL. And there might have been 10, 15 people in there who we just could just talk about Night Ranger. Similar to what we're doing with the Facebook page. We would just talk and trade stories, and I didn't know where anybody was. And we just talked about Night Ranger and what have you. And there was a person on the page who, there's a couple people. Two people were disc jockeys out in Santa Rosa, Petaluma, California area, which is where they were kind of from. And they were talking about Night Ranger, playing shows out there. And this one person was on there, and she was talking about how Night Ranger's working on some new music, the original lineup. And I was like, whatever, I didn't know anything about it like you did. I didn't have Drive Entertainment's business card.
Well, either did I. I just opened up the CD book.
And I didn't have. I mean, I'm amazed, Josh. I never had that kind of thinking. I mean, Brent would think that way, and you think that. I never in a million years would think to call and ask where are they playing. I just never would have. So on the AOL page, this person keeps talking about. They just were dropping information about Night Ranger that I was like, I don't know. I think they're just full of crap. I didn't buy it one bit. And other people on the page would message me like, hey, that's she'd said I'm Brad Gillis's sister. And I was like, yeah, and I'm Brad's brother. I don't know you. And this is the internet. Anybody could be anybody. And the DJs and the other people had messaged me privately and said, no, that really is Brad's sister. And I was like, get out of here. And I still just wasn't buying it. And she had then messaged me and she said, give me your phone number. And I was like, whatever. And I give her my home phone number at my apartment, and she calls me. And I'm like, hey, what's going on? She's like, this is, I don't want to put her name out there in case people don't know her name. And I was like, what? And she said, I'm going to play you something if you don't believe me. And she played me, New Night. Then basically she was playing to me Neverland. This is probably December 96, January 97. I don't know the exact date. And I know we've talked about it, Josh. I don't know the exact timing, but she was playing me the new tracks. They hadn't named the album yet because she was asking, on the AOL chat group, hey, guys, what do you think they should call the album? And she kind of rattled off some of the titles, like Slap Like Being Born and, Neverland and Forever All Over Again. And we just were throwing out names. We didn't know. We were idiots. But anyway, she plays this for me, and I was blown away. I was like, "Oh my God, you must really be her." So then she chimes in. Oh, no, I'm sorry. The DJs chimed in later on and said, hey, Night Ranger is doing a show in Petaluma, California, at this bar that's kind of like what Bogart's would be or what Newport would be. I want to say it was called a Pantages Theater, but I don't know that. I have the flyer. I just don't have it handy, and I'll post it to the page when I get it open. But they were playing this show, like a reunion show, basically. After you'd seen them, Josh, but it was kind of an official back together show. And I was kind of joking with my roommate Gary at the time, and I said, I'd love to go to that show. And he was like, there's no way we can go to that show. And I was like, yeah, I know. I'd gone online with Ticketmaster and tried to get tickets, and I could not get tickets for a show in Petaluma, California. I don't know why. I just couldn't do it. So I said to I jokingly said on the chat group, hey, can somebody get me tickets to that show? If I can get out there, can somebody get me tickets? Just putting out a feeler. And I got 2 responses. One was from the radio disc jockeys who were on like a mix type radio station out there. And they had said, Andy, if you get out here, we'll get you in with a press pass. We'll get you into the show because we're all going. And I was like, holy crap. Like, now it's happening. Well, then Brad's sister chimes in and she says, if you get out here, I'll get you in. And that's a promise. You get out here and I'll get you in. So then it was done. I was like, I got to figure out a way to go. I didn't have any money. I called my mom, of all people, and I said, Mom, I really want to do this. I don't have the money. And my mom's words of wisdom to me were, do you have a credit card that has enough room on it? And I said, yeah. And her words to me were, go to the show. You know, because they can cancel that credit card, but they can't take away your memories. Just go. And I bought plane tickets.
3 bankruptcies later?
Yeah.
Pretty much. I mean, I rented a car. I bought airline tickets. Gary bought airline tickets. We were both – I was in Florida. We both were in Florida for spring break, different parts of Florida. And we flew – we met at an airport in Florida, then flew to San Jose, California, drove to Petaluma, California, went to the radio station because the DJ said, if you get in town, come to the station and we'll put you on the air. And, of course, you know, as humble as I am and as shy, I went for it. And we were on the radio station. They brought us in and talked about these 2 crazy fans coming from Cincinnati, Ohio, to just see a Night Ranger show in this little Petaluma theater. And we talked and talked. Then when the show ended, the radio show ended, we all followed the radio crew over to the venue. And we were hanging out outside the venue and just, like, waiting to get in. And the press had gone in and they said, hang tight, we'll come back out and get you in a minute. I said, no worries, man. And there was a small line of people, but not a ton. And I'm looking around and I see this guy running towards the door. And I'm like, I looked at my buddy Gary. I was like, man, it looks like Brad Gillis. And he was like, yell his name. So I was like, Brad. And Tony goes, what? I was like, I got nothing. I didn't think it was really you.
Yeah, his hair was shorter.
He'd cut his hair.
Yeah.
And I said, you cut your hair? He goes, thanks for noticing. And that was the conversation. I didn't know what to say. I was kind of like, I didn't think you would answer. So he runs in. He's like, we got to go sound check. I said, all right, man, just hi. Well, then here comes this woman, and she's looking for me. She goes, are you Andy? And I said, yes. She goes, I'm, Brad's sister. And I was like, oh, my God. And she's like, come on, let's go. And she took me and Gary. We went in, and we got to sit there and watch him sound check, which was amazing. And Josh, you've probably seen it. You know.
I don't know if I've ever been to a sound check, so yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're just, they're running songs, and then they don't play the whole song. They stop and like, hold on, let's do this. And, I mean, we're sitting there with just some of the press, and, their families are there. And they're running songs, and the songs end. They come down, and they have 6-foot, tables set up and buffet food set up, and they're eating dinner. And they're like, come on, let's go. So Gary and I are sitting there eating sandwiches with Night Ranger, just talking. And, Brad's like, so my sister says, you guys, tell me your story. And we told Brad, and Brad's like, Jack, come here. You got to hear this. Well, Jack comes over, and we're all talking. So we're kind of holding court at this time because the band is just kind of around us. They're like, you guys came out from Cincinnati. We're like, yeah, we flew out. from Florida, and we drove up here from San Jose, and they're kind of like, why? And we're like, we just fucking love you guys. I don't know what else to say. And they were so gracious, and I got pictures with every one of them. I took a Polaroid camera, which I think Brent told me to do, because you can develop the picture right there and get them to sign it. So I got pictures of all the guys, which I will post to the page, autographs with every one of them, having out. So they
got
me
a drum head.
Yeah.
I got an autographed drum head from.
And I got one too. I went and bought black drum heads with a silver marker. And so
by the way, thank you.
You're welcome. So anyway, the show starts, and we're there with this group of people that would kind of, from the message board, that lived in California, and the radio personalities.
The original Fans in Motion.
Yeah, really. We're all in this one little spot of seats, because it was kind of like a Bogarts, where there was no seats to a certain area, then there were seats, and we're just going to sit because we don't need to be front row. We've met them and done all that stuff, and we're going to, what have you. The show starts, and they come out, and they're just rocking and just tearing it up, and Jack, like the second or third song, I don't remember exactly, he's like, I'm going to dedicate this next song to my two new friends that came all the way from Cincinnati, Ohio, and he points to us, and we're like, that's us. And they went right into Neverland, and of course I was just like, I don't even know this song, and I freaking love it, and
you're so Kevin James, I'll tell you.
Yeah, pretty much. So it was insane, and we were just losing our minds. It was one of the best times I've had at a concert, because I was surrounded by a group of people that all knew my story, and they were just so putting us out there, these are the guys from Cincinnati, and so the show ends, and we were just kind of milling about and getting ready to leave, and Brad's sister's like, where you guys going? They're going next door to the bar to hang out. You guys should go over there. I was like, I don't know, man. They've done enough. And then I think it was Brad's like, come on, man, you guys are going with us. So we went next door to this bar, and they're drinking and just having a good time, and we're all just kind of hanging out. And I'm doing the whole time, I'm checking my watch. I was like, man, I got to drive back to San Jose to catch a plane. We're leaving in the morning.
Did you know the way?
I did not. I know what you're going for there. But the drive from San Jose to Petaluma is 2 hours, 3 hours, something like that. I mean,
I have no idea.
Well, San Jose is south of San Francisco, and Petaluma is north of San Francisco. So I had to go, and I was like, hey, guys, thank you so much, man, but we got to go. And Brad's like, you're not going anywhere, man. You guys are hanging out with us. I was like, yeah, I mean, this is a dream for me, but I got to catch a plane at 6 in the morning to get out of here, and I don't I got to get back. And oh man, you're staying. And we finally I think it was 2 in the morning we left, and we basically just went to the airport, slept in the car, and got up and caught our plane back. And that was it was basically 3 days of just nonstop running and rocking the Night Ranger, and it was one of the greatest experiences of my life musically. It's a story that I'll always have.
Yeah, I remember thinking the whole time when you were telling me the story when you got back, I'm like, I'm the one that usually pulls this shit off.
Yeah.
I'm the one that usually does this.
I was just charged using my credit card like I had the money to pay for it.
And what's great is here in about, a year and a half, you'll have it paid off.
Basically, I've been paying the minimum balance since 1997. But it was it's one of those things I think everybody has those moments that you could almost taste the moment. I remember so much about that day and that night and everything.
Well, you have that, and there's that one guy at Harris.
Yeah, Damn Yankee show.
He can taste the moment. So.